Welcome back to Xollob Nation. Here we go again, Bill. Another week. How are you?
Another week, and it's been a good week. I think it's what a week of sport, though. Oh my word! I've been glued to all sorts of exciting matches and stuff. It's been brilliant, to be fair. For the armchair sports enthusiast, it's been like a bonanza.
You know, final was the final was disappointing, but at least I think was football the winner. They're dirty bastards, those Argentinians.
We've known that for years, and that's why, kind of in a way, we love them. They're the sort of I shouldn't be tarring South Americans with that approach, but they are notorious to South Americans, like the Uruguayans against France.
Exactly, exactly.
But I just don't understand why they get a free pass from the refs every time South American teams are playing. They get a free pass. Whereas if it was England or Ireland and we did some of that messing, sent off straight away, red cards all over the place. It's mad.
I think it was the Lionel Messi, the little magician. I don't know. Was there bias?
Maybe, yeah, but still, there shouldn't be. I mean, come on, like, there's enough.
Yeah, but the whole thing was corrupt. Sure, that head of FIFA, right, Infantino, whatever his name is. And did you see the final ceremony there? And he couldn't.
I had to watch it.
He couldn't lick the arse of fucking Trump fast enough.
And they couldn't get the orange monster off the stage. It was like as if he won. It was like as if he won the World Cup. They had to kind of drag him off.
Yeah, but seemingly the official photographs on the Spanish football websites, they airbrushed him out.
Oh, flipping well done, Spain. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, but So any Spanish listeners, class, well done.
Class, well done.
Absolutely.
Well, I should have put money down in Spain. I had an inkling that they were like a dark horse. And like, you can't say Spain is a dark horse when it comes to soccer, but
they went under the radar.
They really did. And like, everybody was on Spain. Or not Spain. France. France were going to be the big ones. And then there was Brazil. Brazil were going to be the major tournament shocker, win all round. But like,
they were a big disappointment. I think the winners were that Cape Verde. Or
Cape Verde.
Cape Verde, 40,000. And there was an Irish lad on that team.
There was indeed, and he plays for Shamrock Rovers.
Hey, showed up to our Shamrock Rovers. Hey. But Spain drew 0-0 with them the first game.
I know. And like, they really hurled Argentina to the pin of their collar to the last minute in the second round, or the round of 32 or whatever it was. It was. I watched it. It was for me, it was the best game of the tournament. Cape Verde against Argentina. It was absolutely fantastic. Like, giant killers and underdogs. It was a fantastic story.
Yeah, but I think Argentina, they let their country down a bit with their shenanigans, as we call it, technically.
Oh, my God. Especially after the last whistle goes. I mean, what was your man's name? Paredes?
Parasitis or Paredes.
Is that what they're calling him? Oh, wow.
No, I don't know. But anyway. And the thing that shocked me as well is after that absolute... when the Argentinian fella, he bounced the poor Spanish fella. That was an impressive somersault by the Spanish fella. Jesus Christ.
Jesus. He was like...
He should be a snowboarder with that. I think it was a triple backflip.
Well, if he'd have been wired, he'd have created electricity. In fairness, like, if he was wired up, he could have been a wind turbine. In fairness,
I know.
Twirling.
But then, you know what? I adore Lionel Messi, right? I think he's the best.
Me too.
Maradona, because of Maradona's faults, would always have a place in my heart. But Lionel Messi has to be, the best footballer that ever kicked a football.
I know. And like, I just love the way his head bobs when he's running forward.
He's unbelievable. But he did something that really disappointed me. They have a new ruling now if you cover your mouth.
Oh, yes.
And Cucurella.
Oh, I remember it, Dan. I do, yes. I
Cucurella,
saw
right?
it.
Who just basically touched his boat, right? Just like that. And then Messi was there straight away.
Yellow
It's a bit
card,
like,
yeah.
tell the school teacher,
Yeah.
Billy said a bad word. Huh?
He's I did, Lionel. And what are you going to do about it, Lionel?
I know, yeah.
But,
So,
he was very upset at the end. He was crying. I could see like the tears rolling down his face because he knows it's the end of the line for him in terms of international soccer. It really is. Like, God bless him.
Yeah, but I mean, if is that what you need? That skullduggery now?
Well, he's 39, so there's no way. Like, he can hardly be 43. Although, could you be still playing soccer internationally at 43?
No, not even you, Bill. Huh?
I know, but well, I've a while to go before I reach that age.
I have a little song, Bill. So I got our AI to create a song, right? No, I haven't heard it in its totality, but let's see. Could you hear it, right? Okay. I basically wanted to take the piss a bit out of England as well.
Oh, well, indeed. And, you know, the bronze match against France was... I missed it stupidly, but apparently it was an outrageous goal fest and exciting and all that. It was better than the final, actually, the game between France and the UK, or England. But
so England, I think, England were leading 4-0, and then France put on a few of their boys and said, right, we can't be completely humiliated by these fellas.
Okay.
And then it went back to 4-3 and then 6-4. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, you can't be conceding. You can't be 4-0 up and then they score 3 goals. So you have to. Yeah. Right. And I think that guy Tuchel. So they brought in a German, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
There's
either.
a lot of backlash against him.
There is a bit, and I think his method of management is to wind the players up and make them, angry and play angry.
And he threw them under the bus. And then he said another thing, which upset a lot of English, where he basically said it's not in the DNA of English. So if you're a German, then when you start talking about the DNA of the English,
I know, and
that didn't go down well. No, I mean, and he might be right, but he did leave his creative players. He brought basically athletes who can run and are strong.
Yeah.
But then he said it's not in our DNA to be kind of creative and hold the ball. But then he leaves Foden and Palmer from Chelsea. He left them at home.
He did.
So he left the creative players at home, and then he shoved it in their face, saying, it's not in the English DNA to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, to be creative and magic. Yeah, no. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the way he was running his camp, like to annoy them into being good. I don't know. But
anyway, we'll see. So here's the little tune.
So here's the tune. Okay.
See what you think.
Nueva Jersey, 19 de julio. The whole world watching. One last dance. 60 years of coming home. The Lions roared once more. 1-0 up with 5 to go.
It's a dig at English here.
Lautaro in extra time. The same old English tears. St. George's flag folds up again. Another 60 years. And the 10 of Argentina came with studs and sin. Kicks and claws and cynic fouls to drag the champions.
I think this is about the final.
Enzo saw the red mist fall. The mask came off the crown. They couldn't beat them playing ball, so they tried to drag them down.
Yeah.
Ole, ole, España, the red and gold ascend. Torres in the 106, the beautiful game defense. Not the Zoox in Zurich counting gold behind the glass, but the boys who kept the ball the grass. Campeones, ole!
And Any song with a bit of Ole in it will
I
always
know,
win.
yeah. It's always been in Ireland anyway.
FIFA sells the circus while the game absorbs the pain. Halftime shows and gilded thrones, the money never sleeps. On
Madonna.
the pitch, the truth belongs to the one who keeps. And Leo, little Leo, walks into
Poor Leo.
Oh, poor
20
Leo.
years of magic fading out of sight. The greatest ever wore that 10. We'll say it till the end. But even gods must leave the stage. Adiós, my friend.
Adios, Leo.
Ole, ole, España. 2 stars upon the chest. From Cape Verde to Jersey soil.
Oh.
They swept aside the best. Martinez saved a dozen, but he couldn't save them all. Ferran with the thunder. 1 touch, 1 ball. Campione.
Campione! Hey! Ole!
España, España, España.
España, Irlanda! Yeah, well,
I tell ya,
Irlanda.
God, if that's not a number 1 in Spain, I'm giving up.
Like Dan, honestly, we need some sort of Spanish music marketing genius
Yeah.
to kind of push
I'm not
us
sure
forward
now
here.
would they understand our accent over in Spain. No,
Oh,
that'd be hard to sell. Or
be like,
uno, dos, tres,
uno,
Dos.
dos, tres.
dos cerveza, por favor.
Yeah, that's all you need, really. It's
That's all you want. Dos.
dos cervezas,
That's the-
una whiskey. Also,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do like the Spanish. In fairness to them, I think
I do too.
They're class. They're class.
They are, and anytime I've worked with Spanish people over the years in all my different kind of careers over like this time, I've always warmed to Spanish people because they're very relaxed and they're great old crack. Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're good old
They're
crack.
mad
The
for crack.
language is a problem, though. They do struggle with the English.
They do. Like there's what's it? They struggle with like certain types of letters they can't pronounce. Like I don't know. They're a bit like the Japanese with their R's. The Spanish can't pronounce. I think L's or something. I don't know. It's one or the other. But they have.
So
trouble.
what? We're calling them tick, is it?
No, it's just the way they talk, the way their language is constructed. Their jaws, as they grow up, can't pronounce certain letters. Like,
But the way their feet are made, they're brilliant. They're able to play football, huh?
yeah, that's because
You
they
couldn't.
don't. That's because they play soccer. They don't have hurling, Irish football, soccer, rugby. What's the other thing? The hockey, running. Like Ireland tries to do everything, and if they just gave up all the GA, I know I'm going to be killed for this now. We'd have a fantastic soccer team if they just got rid of the GA. You know, like
We are world champions, though. We're world champions of Gaelic football and hurling. World champions.
you know.
We should do it like the Americans, where they have the World Series, right? And there's only them playing it.
I know. Yeah, playing against themselves. Like I know.
And come up with a fancy cup and get Trump over to fucking hand out the medals.
Yeah, and like have it a major league, kind of millions of dollars invested, and okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we'll do a couple of tech stories, right? I've got 3 today, right? A kind of a random mix here today, right? So the first one, right, is Robotaxis, right? So there was a Robotaxi that drove into a fire.
Oh,
And it's from an Amazon-owned company called Zoox. I'd never heard of them, right?
Me
The main
neither.
ones I've heard of are Waymo and, you know, the taxi from Tesla, right? But anyway, Amazon have a company called Zoox, and the software, so they've basically recalled the software from 105 of its robotaxis over concerns its vehicles failed to detect heavy smoke. So on June 20th in Las Vegas, of course it would be Las Vegas, an unoccupied Zoox vehicle drove into thick smoke at an active fire scene that hadn't yet been coned off. braked hard while trying to steer away and had to be reversed out by a remote human operator.
Oh, so
The bigger,
go on.
So, have you ever been? Would you? And how comfortable would you be, right, in a Robotaxi, basically?
Very uncomfortable, Dan. I can't even allow other people. I find it hard to be in the car with other people driving because my foot is constantly braking. Oh, Jesus, brake. Oh, stop, you're going too fast. Or just move forward. And
Would that be a woman driver?
it could be.
No, I'm only. That's a joke. Before I get fucking cancelled.
Yeah, you will be cancelled on that one. No, we're not a sexist podcast. You know, we're not part of the manosphere. Are we? Are we the manosphere?
No, we're not. No, we're definitely not. We're a bunch of complete and utter. We're bases, but
we're lovely guys, and we just tell it like it is. Okay.
We're bases. Yes, that was the. But they are coming. The Robotaxis are coming, right? But I thought they would have arrived already, right? But
that's because people are reluctant to get into a car that you can't drive. And we bought a car in this house the other day, and it's a Dacia, right? It's a 2026 Dacia, and it has certain software that you have to switch off if it annoys you. And what annoys the absolute bejesus out of me is the lane. It pulls the wheel. When I'm driving along nice and casual, if I haven't switched it off before I start driving, if I'm avoiding a pothole, it pulls me back into the pothole. That's
I know.
Stupid.
Would
you ever stop? Shut up. I'm in charge here, like.
I have it as well on my my Lamborghini Urus. I have it as well.
Yeah, but come on, we all know they're a heap of shite. Like the Urus, Uranus. That's what it is. That's what they say. Uranus, like a Lamborghini Uranus.
Don't be jealous, Bill.
I don't get jealous. I just know that when there's a crap car, it's a crap car.
And of course, that is another joke.
It is, yeah, because I know Lamborghini are sponsoring the next episode. I'm sorry, basically. Come on, take a joke, Lambo.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's the first one anyway, right? So you wouldn't... But that being said, right, it is going to arrive, right? And I must say, it is... I prefer to get into a car if there was no driver, right? You know, getting into an Uber, right, you feel you kind of have to chat to the clown.
Oh, I know.
And I know
yeah.
I've had some great conversations, right? But
I know.
my nature would be, hello, how are you? You know, how are you getting on, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the bloody conversation. Where are you from? He'll ask me, and I go blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to, I don't know.
Yeah, and do you
pick
know,
your nose.
asking somebody where are you from is actually considered racist nowadays. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. You know, I stopped asking people. So where are you from? It's like, so you don't think I'm from Ireland, is it? It's like, oh right, okay, I'm sorry. Like, Jesus. Yeah.
Where are you from, Bill? Is that racist? I suppose you can ask a fella with a... Okay, if a fella's an Irish accent, you can ask him where he's from. But if you're...
See, this is my attitude as well. Like, but then again, if you've a robot taxi, you don't have to you don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to.
You can treat the robot. So there is an advantage in like not having to interact with the machine that drives the car. And I would love a car that I could like set and forget and go out for a few drinks out somewhere that I want to go and just lay back in the back seat and say, "Hey, Charlie," or whatever I call him, take me home there. I'm bait from the drink, or from whatever. I'm tired, you know, because the mother listens to this, you know. Then Jesus, we got it. We got it the other day, like. But yeah. So anyway. But yeah, so that somebody else takes over the driving, and if that's a very highly efficient AI robot who takes over the driving, fine by me. But I just don't trust it just yet.
Yeah. The second story, right, is what... Do you know what Linux is?
I do. It's the free operating system that's been around for years. Your man, that Finnish fella, was it Linus?
Yeah. Linus Torvalds. Very good.
Is he still alive?
Of course he is. Of course he is. Yeah.
Major hero for people. Yeah. Go on anyway. Sorry, Dan.
But anyway, there's a massive competition between China and America, right? So on the
Yeah.
American side, you would have the AI labs like Anthropic, OpenAI, Google.
Yes.
And what the Americans have done, right, to try and win the race is they have put restrictions on giving them the GPU chips from NVIDIA. So they put an embargo, right? But what it has meant is the Chinese, who are obviously incredibly, incredibly clever, right? They have become a lot more efficient in kind of distilling models on inferior hardware. Okay? So there's a company called moonshots.ai, and they released a model called Kimi K3. Now, I tested it during the week.
Go ahead.
Now, incredible, right? So, and I put it up against the latest models from Anthropic and the latest.
Wow.
Incredibly impressive, right?
Wow, Dan. Cheapers. Okay.
A lot cheaper, but it was so popular, right, that they basically ran out of GPU to actually handle all of the requests. They didn't think it would be as popular, right?
Popular, okay.
So, and these open source models, what happens is they test them out firstly on the public, and then they are basically, like open source software, like Linux, they make it available. They make all of the parameters, and the parameters are kind of the weights on. So the weights would be so the parameters and the open weights allow you to basically take that model and maybe fine tune it on your own data. So
I get you. So like
Now,
for Cork City Council, we could take that, like the basic, and then run it, our data, which is held behind, and then we could basically solve homelessness through the AI.
But the question is, so I think it's a really good thing, right? But
Okay. Well,
what's going to happen is it's probably 90% as good as the really expensive models. And kind of the question that companies have, if it was 10x cheaper, but it's only 90% as good, and if you were going to use AI, I know you're not a big
I
proponent of
do
it.
understand it, like,
Yeah.
I don't need it personally, but go on, I can understand the
So-
value, but go on, so
And then with the evaluations, would you be happy to get 90% less accuracy, right? How do we define it, right? Yeah.
So, like, would the accuracy means that 10% of the stuff you're receiving from the AI is
Yeah, it's
made
not
up
even
or
accurate. It's not even accuracy, right?
hallucinated, like,
So if you wanted, I don't know, to build some website for a business idea that you have, right, and you ran both in parallel, and then, Fable 5 from Anthropic, right, that you're paying a lot of money, right? It might cost you to build the application, it might cost you €500, which is still good,
Fucking
as opposed to paying €50. But you can kind of see that the Fable 5 one is just slightly maybe better in terms of design, etc.
Okay.
Functionality would be the same. Would you be willing to kind of take that hit?
Do you know what I always think about is who in the end requires the use of this thing, right? Is it a quick and dirty kind of solution that isn't in front of the public, that isn't like a fancy thing that has to look really swish, or is it a cheap and dirty solution in order to like solve a major problem in the back end, or like AI can solve loads of different resource problems. Like we can't get 10,000 people to input all this information or whatever. So if it's like the interface looks horrible or whatever, that's grand, as long as the end result is freeing up momentum in the business idea. But if it's like a major new website that's out to the public or whatever, then it must look very pristine,
Well,
That would be my attitude towards.
But the thing about this is it is the same as open source software. So So the whole principle of open source software was it's software or an operating system for the people, right?
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do with open sourcing these models is, open sourcing intelligence to the people so that if you have an idea, you don't need to be a really, really bright software developer.
Okay.
If you have an idea, right? So it's
a good idea. Okay.
So it's. I think the whole concept, right, is open sourcing this new form of intelligence, right? So I'm all for it, right?
I am too. Actually, I am too. And sure, well, it's anything that helps people who don't have the resources to succeed. Because rich people will always succeed because they already have the resources. But anybody who doesn't have that resource, anything that helps them along and let them be wealthy, let's say, with successful innovation.
Now, my final one is, did you buy any SpaceX stock?
Oh, no, God, I went and I looked at it and I figured, the fundamentals weren't correct according to my investment strategy, Dan? As in, I fucking no money to be investing in anything, sure. The only investment I can do is have I 20 euros for my box of fags in the morning. That's the only investment I can make. Maybe it's the tobacco industry I should have invested in, but anyway. No, I have not invested in.
Yeah, I did buy a couple, right? Now they've gone down quite a bit, right? Now the valuation is just ridiculous. And
well, yeah.
I have seen a couple of videos of what they're doing, right? What they're doing is just incredible, right? They basically want to launch kind of data centers into space and then they want to use solar panels. So they're launching these rockets that can actually come back, right, and be reused. No, the engineering is you have to admire what they're doing in terms of engineering.
I've seen it, and I've seen. Do you know the way that catches the rocket as it's coming back down? It's like
incredible.
This big robot arm that catches it and hugs it and brings it back down. Outrageous. But
I think it's their latest one was, I think they call it Starship. That's the Starship, right? But there's a video on that, right? Just even the launch alone, right? They had these cameras, right? But the way they have to build it, when it's about to take off, the amount of fuel that's kind of coming out the back of it, right, would literally melt anything, right? And they had to kind of build it so in a way, right, to evacuate. It's generating so much power. It's absolutely ridiculous when you see the way they had to just build the launch pad alone, right?
Yeah,
and
in
the
order
way
to
things
get it up
were
in
breaking.
Yeah.
Incredible, right? So, the thing is, right, is the space industry, do you think it's kind of worth an evaluation? What's it at the moment, right? So it's valued at 2.66 trillion.
Yeah.
And the way they kind of do evaluations, it's that space, so they kind of do, on average, no financial advice here, right? But it's normally, whatever their revenue is, you would kind of then do a bit of basic maths to say, right, 2.5 to 3 times, so however many stocks they have for the company, then whatever their revenue is, you kind of do a 2.5 or a 3x, or some companies are a 10x. But this is, that evaluation of 2.66 trillion is 142 times evaluation on the 2025 revenue, right? So it's
so let me get this straight.
They're really betting on the fact that the space industry is going to be
go
a massive thing.
It's going to go 142 times
the 2025 earnings.
Like, they're going to earn 142 times more sometime in the future than they are now. It's going to be that. But okay, so you have government pumping money into space. You have the thing about space, and even though Jeff Bezos, I fucking think he's a twat, but anyway, the only thing I liked what he said about Blue Origin, he wants to set up heavy manufacturing off Earth, away from the Earth.
And that's what SpaceX is about as well. They want to take, and I know there's a lot of backlash coming. Do you remember the movie Erin Brockovich with?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
With that actress.
Was it
No,
Sandra Bullock?
what's
You
her
one
name?
with
The
the
red
big
hair.
moat. Yeah. Flippin', she's gorgeous. I have a crush on her. All right,
I have a crush on her as well. Oh, God, what's her name?
What's her name? Jesus. Yeah. Sure.
Erin Brockovich. Let's have a look.
Yeah. Oh, come on. The brain is fried. See, I've been very busy today, Dan. You know, with homeless people. Like, fuck, you know.
Brockovich.
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah, lovely woman, apparently.
And you remember that movie she was in as well, where she was just a high-class prostitute?
Oh, Pretty Woman. Oh, my God.
Pretty woman. As if
I know, yeah. Like, I
the
see
rich fella falls in love with a prostitute.
I know.
Oh, my God.
I see a few pretty women every day. And they ain't. They sure ain't.
But anyway, right, so...
So, yeah, where were we? Yeah, SpaceX.
She's a real woman, Erin Brockovich, right? And she won a big court case there years ago, right?
And she's a fighter for, rights and all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I think they won 133 million, right? Because there was a power and gas company, right, that were basically polluting the water, right?
Correct.
And then you had frogs that had two heads, and that's a fact. Frogs with two heads, right? And it was. So now she's, and what's happening across America is, right, they're building these data centers. Now these data centers consume an incredible amount of water.
Is that to cool the actual?
Yeah, to cool the
processing?
the processing and stuff, and use a massive amount of electricity. And there's a big backlash, both on the left and on the right. Even the one thing I think the Democrats and the Republican, the people on the ground, are saying, right? And they've been disguising it, saying, "Oh, we're building a warehouse, an Amazon warehouse," and then the next thing, the people on the council, the city council or the county council, they're all made to sign NDAs, right? So.
Jesus Christ.
So, and the reason I'm talking about that is I think if the backlash happens, then there will be the SpaceX industry and the Jeff Bezos industry to put the data centers
off
planet, basically, yeah. Because you won't need all of the water to do the cooling.
Because it's in zero gravity. It's in zero
gravity.
Yeah,
So
exactly
it's
like.
Yeah, and the last time I was up there, it's very, very cold. So.
Yeah, I know. But it's an awful place to go for a dump, actually. Fucking hell. You'd be floating around. You'd be like, out with you. Oh, yucca. Yeah, anyway.
But those data centers, right? So if one of the chips fails, right, who's the fella going up with the screwdriver and the spanner, right, to replace something on the circuit board?
Well, have you seen the film Ad Astra? And Brad Pitt is like the main man in Ad Astra. It's a very kind of contemplative film. It's a really good. It's one of my favorite movies.
Really?
So
I never heard of it.
Ad Astra. Oh, check it out. It's pure sci-fi kind of a job, and they end up in the moon, and there's a crowd living on the moon who are rebels, and they've taken over the moon. Anyway, it's great old show, but it's kind of complicated. But the very start of that.
Did they meet Elvis? Did they see Elvis on the moon?
He wasn't actually seen at the time, but there wasn't even reference to it. You know, it's not that kind of a movie, Dan. But Brad Pitt is way up in kind of near orbit on this huge kind of orbiting kind of machiney thing. I don't know what it is. And something goes wrong and he has to drop from the thing. Otherwise he'll be killed. And he just drops straight down. Like, do you know your man who jumped out of the longest parachute?
The Red Bull guy, yeah.
Yeah. It was very much like that. And he just jumped out as an emergency situation, and Brad Pitt survived in the end, of course. But he was fixing something way up in space, that look like a data center. So check out Ad Astra. It has that kind of scenario already boilerplated in.
Perfect, right? So that's all from me. Any interesting news story you came across?
Oh, do you know, there's this horrible crowd. I don't know, maybe this is too much horrific. There's an online kind of a crew that they're young ones, they're 12, 13, and it's called the gamification of harm. And what they're doing is they're called the 764 Network. Some kind of an asshole in America, Bradley Cattenhead, set up this network encouraging other children to assault people and film it, and then you get like bonus points in the group and bragging rights if you like stab somebody. There was a kid in Sweden who's in jail for a while who stabbed some poor old fella walking along. There's a girl in Australia who had to do all sorts of weird stuff with strange men, and they film it and then they encourage each other to self-harm. I swear to God.
And what is it called? What's the name?
It's called the 764 Network. If you have children of a certain age, Jesus, have a look to see if they're involved in this crowd. They're the most... It's just kids being total nihilistic, causing harm to each other. And it's all like kids about 12 to 17, and they're involved in this kind of online nihilism that is sad. Very, very sad. Yeah, I don't know.
Bradley Cadenhead, founded 2021.
Yeah, he's now
has been described as a satanic and neo-Nazi cult by some in the media.
Yeah.
Investigations suggest that its members' misanthropic worldview and sadistic tendencies are more significant drivers, with group dynamics playing a key role in further radicalization.
That's it. And it's all radicalizing. And it's not becoming religious in any way. It's just pure nihilistic.
So he was sentenced to 80 years in prison after being convicted of crimes related to
but 80 years for a 15-year-old. Wouldn't you think, no, they'd just give him, like, rather than 80 years in a high security, supermax prison for a fucking 15-year-old, wouldn't you kind of take him aside and, you know, re-educate him? Because obviously there's a want in a lot of kids growing up these days. They don't know what they want, like.
So he was 15 in 2021 when he founded it. My God.
I know. Jesus.
Yeah. That's fantastic, Bill. What a lovely story.
I know. So that's a lovely story to end up, a very positive kind of message. Well, what I would say is keep an eye on when I think of my own 3 kids, well, one is beyond that sort of shite anyway, but the other 2, God almighty. But yeah.
So on that cheery note, thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Dan.
Another episode from Xollob Nation.
Another episode. Follow, like, and subscribe. Yeah, exactly.
And hit the notification bell, and we'll be back to you next week.
We'll be back to you next week.
I will try and make it a bit more cheery.
I know, but I mean, you know, of course, it's like, yeah, we will.
Next week, right?
Next week, the comedy episode next week. Oh no.
Yeah. We'll change it up next week, right? Take care.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye. Cheers.